sensation. Here he is among us. Wow. Well, there we are. Welcome, everybody. Here it is, Saturday night, 9 p.m., and this is the debut, this is the unveiling, this is the revealing of what will be a Saturday night occurrence each and every Saturday night here, live on PJNET. What's the big deal? Well, the big deal is we have, yes we do, the YouTube sensation, Wild Bill for America, and we are not limited to 3 minutes for Bill's Bites. So, Bill, welcome to PJNET Live. It's great to have you with us.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Coach Prasic is joining me for some new Bill Bites news, where we are going to twist some liberal tails, and we're going to do our part to make America great again. But anyway, let's see what kind of nonsense we can find in the headlines today. Let's see here. Massachusetts, figures. A woman was arrested for attacking a man because he was wearing a MAGA hat. And she did it right in front of 4 police officers. Don't let anybody tell you that the lefties are the intelligent ones. You know, we are seeing a huge rise in assaults against conservatives all over the country. Anyone who supports Donald Trump is a target. This is actually the revenge of Hillary. Since she lost the presidential election, she has just been on a rampage, and she's been stirring up her evil little minions to do this stuff. I personally consider Hillary Clinton to be the most evil woman in America, and she richly deserves to be parked in a prison cell. Let's hope we live to see those days. It was Hillary who launched this massive nationwide assault on everything Donald Trump. It was Hillary who paid for the fake Russian dossier that launched the Mueller fake investigation. And when that investigation revealed that only Hillary colluded with the Russians, they should have turned the investigation on her. If it was an investigation, that's what would have happened. But no, Mueller is a Hillary Clinton lapdog, so he just went on and on. He went with the fake porn star story after the Russian story fell apart, and when that failed, they raided Trump's lawyer's office, on and on and on. This is clearly just a get Trump at any cost mission for the Democrats.
You know, Bill, did you hear the reference to witch hunt, which is part of American colloquialism? There was a group of Wiccans who were offended that it was being called a witch hunt because that stereotypes witches.
You know, it's pretty bad when witches are offended by being compared to Hillary Clinton.
Well, isn't there a potion for
that?
that?
Can you go, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, isn't there a potion or a spell they could cast to do something about that?
I don't know if they have anything that work on Hillary. But I tell you, you know, America has lost confidence in the federal government big time. And you know what? There is nothing that would restore American confidence in the government more than watching Hillary Clinton being led in handcuffs into a courtroom.
One of the things I've noticed, Bill, the federal government, actually, I'll take exception with what you said. I think the federal government does a great job in our military. But you know what? The 10th Amendment empowers the federal government to do that. So the things that the government does that they're supposed to do, they actually get done.
Well, they do a great job with the military. I'm a veteran, and I'm very pro-military, but, you know, the military's job is wrecking things. The government's really good at wrecking things. Look what they've done with our education system, our economy. Look what they've done with, well, Washington, D.C. It's a hot mess. And,
I once saw the comment, I forget who made it, but if you put the government in control of the desert, there would soon be a shortage of sand.
Yes, yes. If you put the U.S. Congress, yeah, they're the money wasters galore. The world's greatest gathering of incompetent managers, the United States Congress. I tell you. So how do we as Americans fight back against this political correctness, which has now grown up into nothing less than Nazi-style thuggery? Well, in my opinion, we rebel. The American people have a long and proud history of rebelling against tyranny. We as Americans refuse to be pounded down into the liberal mold. We the people, speak out loud and clear, exposing and challenging the falsehoods and the immoral policies of the left. As Christians and as American patriots, we need to stop wagging our tails and start showing our fangs. That's really the only language that the liberal left understands.
Be careful.
Oh, I will pull their tails until the cows come home. One thing that they cannot stand, Coach, the liberals cannot stand being exposed for the devils that they are. And this is what you and I are going to do with these new Bill Bites videos. I am going to sink my fangs into silly liberals all over America. So, hey, everybody out there listening, please hit the subscribe button because there's going to be a lot more to come.
We're going to call them out. And, you know, I know you will. And they don't like that. As soon as you do, they change the narrative.
Well, that's why they're working so hard to silence the Christian patriot message all over America, is because they cannot engage in open debate.
No.
They lose every time they have to rely on facts and evidence.
Oh, they rely on screeching and wailing. Remember when Judge Kavanaugh was being confirmed? Jeff Flake is not my favorite. But you don't accost somebody going to an elevator. That is not how our republic works. Whoever screams the loudest wins. And that's their strategy. Well,
speaking of screaming the loudest, Kamala Harris, flaming liberal California candidate for president, is pounding the drum that Americans need to pay reparations to blacks for the slavery of, what was it, the 17th century?
And how about the people in Africa that sold them to us?
Oh, you mean the Muslims? Oh, give me a minute. I'll get to that. Well, anyway, WorldNet Daily is reporting that Kamala Harris's parents they descended from Jamaican slaveholders. Her family had slaves. Bet she didn't see that coming. So according to her liberal Democrat thinking, if that's what you can call it, Kamala herself should be writing a check to the black community every month.
Lead by example, honey. Yeah.
For what her family has done to blacks. Now, this might surprise people, Coach, but I am all in favor of reparations. I think that anybody who was kept in chains as a slave should receive reparations, and anyone who actually kept people in chains should pay those reparations.
Okay, fair enough.
And guess who is still holding people in chains today? Islam, the Muslims. Slavery is alive and well throughout the Islamic world. You would think the Democrats would be up in arms about that, but no, they really don't care about slavery. They really don't care about women's rights.
I was going to say, I think if you're a woman, being married is in effect a slavery state. If you're a Muslim woman married to a Muslim man, you're a slave.
I was thinking American wives here. I was thinking, oh yeah, your coach just pulled a lot of tails with that one.
No.
Yeah. So if you want to talk reparations, no problem. If you guys want to talk about Islam paying reparations to the entire world for their crimes against humanity, hey man, I would be right there marching with you. And I would even wear my bright red Trump hat. That would liven things up.
Hey, Bill, is it a MAGA hat or a mega hat?
Mine says Trump, make America great again. I'll wear it on one of these shows.
But how do you pronounce it? Is it mega or MAGA? We got to get this. I mean, can you use the word in Scrabble?
I imagine there probably already been a few fist fights over that. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, well, let's talk about reparations. If crime victims should receive reparations and the perpetrators should be the ones to pay it, maybe it's time for us to start talking about the massive crime wave that the black community has launched on American communities for decades. Now, this is something you don't hear much about, Coach. If you Google crime statistics in America, you'll see that even though black Americans are only about 13% of the population, they are responsible for 65% of all violent crime in America. That is stunning. It's something that nobody is talking about. So, if these guys want to talk reparations, maybe we should start talking about reparations from that crime wave.
Perhaps First of all, reparations doesn't have a good historical track record. I think I could argue that the reparations that Germany paid after World War I was almost led directly to World War II. But by the way, reparations are paid by what? The losers, not the winners. So,
yeah, well, reparations had a part of it in World War II, but also what happened was the outrageous restrictions that the Europeans dumped on the German people. I mean, they just hogtied them.
Yeah, the Versailles Treaty was basically the cause of World War II.
Yeah, it was like the regulations the Democrats want to dump on us today. You know, we only put up with that for so long. Well, yeah, here's one, Coach, that'll have you shaking your head. Abortionist Willie Parker calls himself a Christian abortionist, and he calls abortion work his ministry. And to make this even more bizarre, he freely admits that abortion is the killing of a human being, and he further says that it's wrong to kill a human being. Yet he freely admits that he has killed about 20,000, and he's going to keep doing it. What is wrong with this picture?
That makes me sick at my stomach, and I'm trying to think of the guy's name, the baby killer, the abortionist. No. It was before that, but he was shot. He was murdered.
Oh,
walking. Get this. Walking into church, where
I remember that. I don't remember his name, but yeah.
Yeah, it rhymed with something. The baby killer. It rhymed with killer. But it makes me sick. How can someone believe for a moment that can coexist with Christianity? I don't. It makes me sick, Bill.
Well, Coach, this is a picture of exactly how liberal Christianity operates. First of all, in liberal Christianity, the ultimate authority is not God.
Yeah.
It is the liberals themselves. If God commands them not to do something and they want to do it, they do it.
Do it anyway.
The Democrat Party is 100% liberal, yet many of them call themselves Christians. But when you look at Democrat politics, it's like they took the Bible, and whatever the Bible commands, they deliberately do the exact opposite.
Yeah, that's called sin.
The Bible says do not sin, and the Democrats make promoting sin their top priority. Listen up, America. There is no such thing as liberal Christianity. God told us that end times would be like this. Here's a quote from 2 Timothy chapter 3. God says, "But know this, that in the last days difficult times will come. For men will be lovers of self, lovers of money, boastful, arrogant, revilers," and it goes on and on and on. It's amazing how accurate the New Testament describes America today in the days that we are living in.
George Tiller, the baby killer.
Tiller the Killer, yes, that's it.
George Tiller. And if you Google it, I said he was murdered. If you Google it, Wikipedia says he was assassinated.
Man was aborted. Let's call it what it is.
No. I don't know where the line is between murder and assassination, but I also don't know where the line is between pond and lake or boat and ship, so I'm not the authority on these things.
Well, you know, here's a little-known fact that could be a bombshell to the abortion industry in America, and it is the laws on use of force in all 50 states.
Oh.
As a police officer, I can tell you that American citizens in all 50 states have the right to use reasonable force to stop a crime in progress. And if the crime is the killing of a human being, American citizens are justified in using deadly force if that's how they need to stop it. And here's another. If they can reasonably articulate that if they allow that person to escape, that more people will be killed, that is also justification for use of deadly force.
I've never heard that angle, but that's an interesting one.
Yeah, well, you know, as police officers, we studied that because as a police officer, every once in a while, you draw your gun on somebody that is a killer to arrest them, and they turn to run. and it looks like they might get away. The question is, can you shoot a fleeing felon? Normal logic is no, you can't shoot somebody in the back who's escaping. But then the courts and the laws come down and said, unless you reasonably believe that if you allow that man to escape, more people will be killed. So that is an established law in America.
Well, that's an interesting legal tenet, because anytime you see the word reasonable as a tenet of law, we don't all agree on what's reasonable. Only in the opinion of the presiding judge decides. You and I were just talking about what we're doing here on YouTube, and we were talking about the fair use, reasonable use of external third-party media. Yeah. And we both concluded, this fits the definition of fair use if you can get a fair trial on YouTube.
Well, this is why we have the jury box in America. We have the ballot box, the jury box, and the cartridge box. Ways of preserving our freedom. And the ones who decide if your use of force was reasonable is the jury of
your peers.
This is why we must never lose our right to trial by jury, because can you imagine going before a Barack Obama appointed judge to convince him that you use reasonable force to eliminate one of Obama's abortions?
And jury is an interesting concept. I studied this in sociology at the People's Republic of Florida State University, and one of the things that we pointed out, juries back then, prosecution for possession of marijuana was not uncommon. But what would happen is you were guilty as sin, but all 12 jurors found you innocent. That's the power of the jury box.
The jury has the right to judge the law itself. And this drives, this drives a lot of judges nuts, because the jury has full authority to rebel if they don't like the orders that the judge is handing down. So the jury is a very important check and balance against the power of out-of-control judges.
And, it's funny because, I don't deify our founding fathers as some people tend to do, but they sure did have a lot of wisdom, and you can't help but credit God with, imparting. That kind of wisdom that's a little bit superhuman. You have to consider the providence of God. These were ordinary people, Bill. They were not Harvard graduate. They were really just working people. They were no different than you and I.
They were well educated, Coach.
Well, they weren't dumb.
Signers of the Declaration, 53 of them were rock solid Christians, and many of them had seminary degrees. They were not uneducated.
Right.
The liberals would have us believe that they were just farmers who hated religion. Nothing could be further from the truth.
No.
So, well, anyway, I see more good news for gun owners. A Texas school district is arming guards with AR-15s to keep the students safe. God bless Texas. AR-15s, no less. The one rifle that liberals hate more than abstinence.
Yeah.
The AR-15 is the one rifle that the Democrats have latched onto to exterminate all gun ownership, and Texas is saying, look at these kids.
And they truly just believe, because they're predisposed to believe, they want to believe AR stands for automatic rifle. Nothing could be further from the truth. And I watched a video one time in one of our shows, and some anti-gun proponent got up and rambled literally non-factual stuff. And the next speaker says, there was nothing that could be construed to be a fact in anything that you said, and we are all more stupid for having heard it.
Well, one reason liberals are so entertaining is because rather than relying on facts, evidence, and logic to make their arguments, they rely completely on emotionalism.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, Walt Disney. And so they come up with some of the stupidest things imaginable. Who's that new girl elected to Congress? That
AOC?
Bug-eyed girl? Yeah.
Yeah, AOC.
AOC. Okay.
AOC. Alexandria Ortiz, whatever. We all know.
I have not been keeping up with her quotes, but people say that she is single-handedly doing away with dumb blonde jokes. from now on.
She's going to single-handedly re-elect Trump if she keeps going. It's that bizarre. Now, I was having a conversation today. Yeah, you mentioned, and I think you're right, that liberals tend to play emotional cards. Okay, and one of the ones they play is compassion. You know, a lot of these programs, you know, we have to have compassion, and it's benevolence. And a book was written, and I've got it bookmarked, and I could research it, and I haven't read the book. But here's the gist of it: people who profess to be conservatives, okay, tend to give a higher percentage of their income to charity. They tend to donate their time more. They tend to do things that are more benevolent. People that profess to be liberals, on the other hand, tend to give less. And so my take is that liberals are very passionately benevolent with someone else's money.
Exactly.
Remember when they did Al Gore's when he was running, and it turned out he only gave like, you know, $150 to charity in the previous year on his tax return, something like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, I do remember that. But how much of other people's money did he take and give? That's the difference between liberals and conservatives.
Right.
They are very generous with other people's money.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, when they're in government, that means your money.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm Constitution Party. I walked away from the Republican Party after they made Obamacare permanent, and Ron Valdivia, the chairman of the Florida Constitution Party, just got back from Guatemala, where he goes down and he works to provide clean water and clothing for the orphan children of Guatemala. And I've been to quite a few of these countries. And I honestly believe that conservatives tend to step out and do more than our liberal counterparts.
Now, Bill, I'm a Republican, but feel free to take a moment to talk about the upcoming event, March 16th, I believe.
Oh, Inman Baptist Church in Winter Haven, March 16th. The Florida Constitution Party is hosting a fundraiser for a very, very good project that we are launching. It's the Biblical Constitution classes for American kids. This is something that has been stolen from American students by the liberal left, who have overrun our education system. The liberal left are hard at work in the school systems, teaching these children to be ashamed to be Americans, to teach them that America is a country that needs to be taken down. And they're basically brainwashing these kids against their own country, and it's a crime. It's a crime against humanity. But conservative Christians are stepping up and doing things like this biblical constitution classes for kids to restore the education they've lost. And I have some friends here in Daytona Beach who do Patriot Camp every year to basically do the same thing, to teach children about the God and country history of America. And I am working to find funding to make Patriot Camp a summer camp in all 50 states. You know, we need to start pushing back against the liberal education. Yeah, this is a great way to do it. I mean, the Boy Scouts are now on the way of the Titanic.
So they're not really the Boy Scouts, are they?
Yeah, well, you're about to pull the pin on my hand. That is one of
before you let loose, I was shocked on your last comment when Michelle Obama publicly stated that for the first time she was proud to be an American.
Yeah, for the first time in her life,
Yeah, I thought, that says a lot.
It does, and that is the attitude of liberal educators all over this country. College professors are probably the worst. And I've been encouraging, you know, conservatives to go back to school. People like you and I who know what's going on, like Gotti Edelman, our expert on Israel. I said, go back to school, audit some of these Middle Eastern studies courses, and when the professor says something stupid, stand up and say, excuse me, professor, I don't believe that's correct.
Yeah, fact check.
Let the other students hear the other side of the story.
Well, you know, Bill, we were having a cup of coffee down in Daytona, and we were talking, and I remember I have this vision of having like street parties, mini rallies, you know, for God and country. Bill, I'm convinced that songs that you and I grew up with, you know, it's a grand old flag. You know, this is my country. It just says. Remember how we used to have assembly and we would sing these patriotic songs? I wonder if you played, you know, "This Is My Country" to the millennial generation. I don't think they would even vaguely know. They would say, I think I might. Yeah. They certainly wouldn't know the song, would they?
Well, even in the entertainment industry, we've lost the message of American greatness. For decades, we were taught to be proud of what this country stands for, our accomplishments in World War II, our accomplishments in bringing civilization to terrorize countries around the world, our military sacrificing themselves to save total strangers over in third world countries from the most brutal tyrants imaginable. Our contributions to medicine and science, putting a man on the moon. The United States of America has got a history that we can all be proud of.
You know who comes in second on that, Bill? And I learned this from a guy on YouTube. Israel. Israel is number 2 in medical research, believe it or not. Yep, I learned that on YouTube from Wild Bill for America or something.
Okay, all right. Well, God told Abraham that I will make you a great nation, and all the nations of the world will be blessed through you. That is, through the nation of Israel. And, of course, the Messiah came through Israel, but blessing didn't stop there. Israel is still blessing the entire world. And smart people stand with Israel. As I do my Wild Bill for America videos, I get more death threats from people than for supporting Israel than anything else.
Bill, I was in preparation for the show here. I Googled Wild Bill for America to get some images, to use for the show. There's a lot of hate out there, buddy, against you.
Oh, yeah, there's a couple of sites out there that imitate. One of them is wildbillforamerica.sucks.com. And I didn't really respond to it, but later the guy who put that site up contacted me, and we started talking. He's up in New York City.
He had the courage to contact you, though.
What's that?
He had the courage to contact you.
Yeah, and
you got to give him something for that.
And he said, if that site really bothers you, I'll take it down. I said, no, leave it up. Let's have some fun with it. And he came down to Orlando. He brought his kids to Disney World, and he drove over to meet me. And so we met for dinner at IHOP, and we had a great visit. He says, you don't actually believe that stuff you say, do you? I said, yes, I do. And we kind of became friends after that.
Well, Bill, let me ask you to be transparent for a minute, because in the world of YouTube and gaining subscribers and monetization and all that, there's a certain amount of theater that you have to embrace, and I think that's one of the things that I haven't been willing to do, and that's why I'm so grateful for my relationship with you. For example, you wear the hat. Now, obviously, that's part of the be transparent a moment and say how much of this is acting in your own mind. Let me give you a moment to think about that while you ingest is that your hot dog? What was on the did you finish that steak?
Turn the stove off so it wouldn't burst into flames while we were doing the show. It's out there basting in a chipotle corn chowder stew.
So there's a line that you have to push it, but you don't want to cross it between animation and being colorful. And being passionate with the truth, because you can get caught up in that.
Well, let me refer to the Disney principle. One thing that concerns me is that conservatives have not yet recognized this fact, and it's this: American voters no longer vote according to their brains.
Right.
They vote according to their emotion. Whatever gives them the little heart murmurs, whatever warms the cockles, that's who they're going to vote for. And this is why liberals have been kicking our butts in elections for decades. Because we're out there talking about the economy and jobs and crime and stuff, and they're out there talking about starving children and little puppies, and they get the votes. So you know what? We, the people, the conservative Christians of America, we also need to learn how to communicate with American voters who rely on emotion to make their decisions.
Well, you're punching my buttons, buddy. You really are. Because I'm on a campaign
that they look for.
Well, and we need to use the tools of technology that are available. The liberals are using them very well. One of the comments, I spoke with you earlier. I said the webcam is and now I've changed my mind to the smartphone, but the visual imagery is the greatest technological advancement in communication since the printing press. Now, I used to say the webcam, but here's my point, and I'd be talking to pastors about this. I said, if you don't believe it, the porn industry realized it immediately, and they cashed in. They cash in. Yet we just are very reluctant to embrace new technology. Now, I'll tell you about a site that you know how you see those ads before YouTube skip? There's one I didn't skip. There's a class that you can take and you can enroll in. And it's kind of reasonable. I'm thinking about it. Where the people that run these political campaigns, and I'm talking about David Axelrod, Karl Rove, and others, share with you, here's how you do messaging, here's how you do imagery, here's how you do. Now, I have also, by the way, and this is, I know this may shock some people, and I don't mean it don't hear me out, and don't understand what I didn't say. Triumph of the Will was I've studied it, and that movie to this day is banned in Germany. But
what's Triumph of the Will?
Well, oh boy, we won't go into it. Basically, it was produced in 1934 by the Nazi Party. It's a propaganda piece for Hitler. It's about an hour and a half long. You can literally go on YouTube and watch it. This is the first time propaganda was brought to bear on such a scale and such a scope, and it employed techniques. And I've studied the techniques that are used. And we've got a little time. Let me just say, okay, the movie starts out with Hitler in an aircraft flying over Germany. Okay. What does that make him? Well, that's a deity, you see. He's a god. He's up there. He's an angel of some kind. And then they switch to the airport where the airplane lands. So now he's descending from the heavens.
Okay.
You see the imagery? When Hitler is the shots are always from below him to where he's in an elevated position. That is very significant. If you go to a court, the judge sits where? Up on a bench. Okay, when you go to, anytime you see a speaker, they're going to be elevated from the audience. They also put the lighting behind him, so when they take the picture, he appears to be radiating light. And you think these things don't have an effect? You're crazy.
They do have an effect.
When people spend $1 million for a 30-second ad, they're not wasting money.
See, this is what I call the Disney effect.
Yeah.
The of the heart, the emotional manipulation by bad guys. Well, I'll tell you, the good guys need to learn how to tweak the emotions of the American people. And
Bill, when I meet people for the first time, they ask, "What are you?" I say, "I'm a propagandist," and they, "Oh, yeah,
Democrat."
I produce propaganda. Now, you have to understand what propaganda is and what propaganda isn't. Propaganda is normally thought of as bad, that it's false. No, propaganda is our court system. You've got two propagandists here. One's called the prosecution and one's called the defense. They're not seeking reason. They're propagandizing from their perspective.
Good point. But I'd be leery of using the word propagandist.
I know, yeah. Nobody knows what it means, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's get back to the news here. I see where President Trump is hacking off everyone. The George W. Bush Center is complaining about Trump's new regulation on jobs. Apparently, tens of thousands of jobs were reserved for foreign workers with H-1B visas. Mm-hmm. Trump says, no more.
Uh-oh.
Jobs are now open to Americans. Mm-hmm. Imagine that. And the George W. Bush people are mad about that.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is one reason why I walked away from the Republican Party. For years, they have told us that they are opposing the Democrats. Of course, the Democrats, man, they're just bad guys marching down the road to hell. But the Republicans always promise us that they are going to oppose and repeal and defund these despicable Democrat policies. But every time they get a chance to do that, they stab us in the back and do the exact opposite.
Well, last night Roger was commenting, that Steve Scalise in Louisiana is going on a rampage, pro-life, blah, blah, blah. And Roger's question was this: and of course he's saying I can't do it because Pelosi is blocking it. And Roger's question was a very cogent one. Scalise. You had it for 2 years. Why didn't you do it then? And it reminds me, it was deja vu. Over and over and over again, while Obama was in office, the Republicans voted to repeal Obamacare. Over and over and over. Because they knew he would veto it.
They couldn't do it then.
It's grandstanding.
And the best example of Republican betrayal is after Trump won the White House, Republicans had the White House, the Congress, and the Senate. Stage was set for them to finally do away with Obamacare. And what did they do, Coach?
No.
They made it permanent.
Yeah.
So that tells me the Republicans and the Democrats have been morphing into one big party determined to govern against the will of the American people. You got to know when to let go of a sinking stone. And that's the day that I joined the Constitution Party.
I don't blame you, Bill.
Political party in America that still stands for the God and country values that made this country great in the first place.
Bill, just feel free anytime if you want to bring one of the representatives on the show. Feel free to do that. I'm a Republican, but I have great respect for those who have done what you've done. We got to have a few people left to take back the Republican Party, but so we kind of need both. We need both levers.
There's a huge break between state level Republicans and Washington D.C. Republicans. I've traveled and spoken at Republican conventions all over the country. And the state level Republicans tend to be rock solid, good God and country Americans.
Good.
But for some reason, they are just absolutely ineffective at reining in their out of control Republicans in Washington, D.C.
Well, I think
understand that.
My observation is, and I'm always trying to give people the benefit of the doubt, I think some very sincere people said, I'm going to go change Washington. But what happens is Washington changes them.
Washington, D.C. is a fortress designed to protect the good old boys and politics as usual. And this is why I am really big on Constitution Party, because we are working to put good men and women into state and local offices. As we do that, the Constitution Party will become more of a household name, and it won't be long before we will be able to challenge the Washington, D.C. congressmen and senators. It's the states that are going to have the power to finally drive a stake through the vampire that is the federal government. The 10th Amendment gives the states the power to do it, and I see that as our only hope for getting control of the federal government. So I am big time Constitution Party, and I'm going to beat that drum.
Okay.
And then here we have the George W. Bush people complaining that Trump's bringing jobs to Americans.
Yeah.
That gives you a clue right there.
How horrible. How could you do such a thing?
George W. Seemed to be, a great American patriotic president. But now, we're seeing otherwise. Oh, well, anyway, back to good news. More good news for gun owners. Now, the other day I reported that half of the elected sheriffs in Washington state would not enforce the new draconian gun laws enacted by the flaming liberal legislature. And today we see that half the counties in New Mexico are declaring themselves gun sanctuaries.
Let's move.
Yeah, the war for the Bill of Rights is heating up, and people are choosing sides. Let me tell you, Coach, this is an exciting time to be an American.
I wonder, well, I won't go there.
Another thing that I saw, I don't see it right now, but the new head of ICE is openly calling for a prosecution of sanctuary city officials. It's about time.
I wonder what they could be charged with.
Conspiracy to violate the immigration laws of the United States. Okay. We could probably also get them on racketeering charges too, and engaging in an ongoing criminal enterprise. Blah blah blah.
All right. Well, let me think about that a minute, because I don't have a lot of faith in that legal strategy. But let me think it through. Let's look at the model of treason. Okay, a treason can include acts of sedition, actively engaging, but treason can be giving comfort to the enemy. Well, the simple act of giving him a glass of water, or some form of compassionate whatever, that's part of what could be defined as treason. So are not these sanctuary cities giving aid and comfort?
Well, you would have to define these illegal immigrants as
Enemies. Yeah.
enemy combatants, and I
Yeah.
don't see
Well, I
any.
don't think you can, but I'm just trying to find
Now,
some model by which to
somebody,
compare. You know.
somebody who, well, violating the immigration laws is a crime. There's no question about that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And to conspire with others, and these government officials are conspiring with all of the Democrats to break these laws. That is conspiracy. They can be charged themselves with violating the immigration laws. It's a solid legal strategy.
I think it'll be interesting.
I think it's a misdemeanor, but it's a start.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah. All right. There's another flaming liberal. By the way, do you know why we tend to call them flaming liberals?
No. Why? I say it all the time. I hear it all the time. Why?
It's because we know their future. Hey, Bill Maher, half-pint liberal loudmouth, says that Trump is inspiring terrorism. Yeah, he's what he's doing. He's inspiring the American people to stand up to liberal bullies like you, Mr. Maher. Funny you should say something like that after your shameful silence when Obama gave billions to Iran.
Mm-hmm.
Little Bill, you are a little man in so many ways. I'm glad your ratings are in the tank. My dad had a saying that he used on a few people. He would say, if you'd keep your mouth shut, people couldn't tell how stupid you are. Did he ever use that one on me? Yeah, you'll have to wonder.
I know it's not in your notes, but I just can't get over digging up a 1971 John Wayne interview. And I was talking to on our guest Del Didway earlier this week, and he got pretty passionate. When you go after the Duke, that's going after America. How could somebody he's an institution?
Okay, well now if I remember the context is that they found John Wayne saying things that could be construed as homophobic, that mythological mental illness. Well, anyway, you got to remember that one of the priorities of the liberal left is to take down America as an institution, to tear down all of the statutes that tend to inspire young men to greatness, to eliminate our national heritage monuments. And John Wayne is definitely one of those monuments. I'm not at all surprised that they would go after the Duke.
Yeah.
They want to just vilify everything American.
Well, I think it just tells me, the frog is boiling. When they can shamelessly go after an American icon, and of course this is particularly embarrassing to him because he was in Hollywood. Well, Hollywood can't have this rogue, John Wayne guy.
Well, back in the day, Hollywood did stand firm, and in the John Wayne era, a lot of those actors were World War II heroes. We don't see that today. Yeah, and I would like to see these American heroes held up as
Well, John Kennedy was a World War II, or not World War II, but Kennedy.
Oh yeah,
PT 109. I wonder how well Kennedy would be received today.
They would spit in his face. You remember John F. Kennedy's famous line? "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." The Democrats would crucify him because that is the exact opposite of their gimme, gimme, gimme welfare fraud politics. You know who else the Democrats would crucify if he was alive today?
Martin Luther King
Jr.
I knew you were going to say it. I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
His dream that blacks and whites would stand shoulder to shoulder as equals, and that a man would be judged not by the color of his skin, but by the content of his character, is the exact opposite of what the Democrats are doing today.
Yeah, yeah.
Martin Luther King Jr. would be outraged at the Democrats' incessant drumming up of racism. And where they can't find racism, they invent racism.
Bill, it's an industry.
Yes, it is. Racism has become big business in America. Somewhere along the way, somebody figured out that racism can be very profitable, both financially and politically.
Yep.
And that was the day that Racism Incorporated became big business in America.
Yeah, and it's that way today. And it's not getting any better.
Yeah. Here's another term that my dad used to use quite often: educated idiots. A college degree is not evidence of either an education or of intelligence.
Or wisdom, yeah.
Or wisdom. And our modern universities have overwhelmingly proven my dad right.
Mm-hmm.
And
my dad had an interesting comment one time we were talking, and he said, we were talking about, distribution of income and stratification and, all these sociological concepts that I thought I was pretty good on. And he said, look, if you took all the money in the world and divided it equally, within a few years, the people that were rich before would be rich again, and the people that were poor before would be poor again. My father was pretty wise.
That is brilliant. I'm stealing that one.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's time.
Help self.
I'm going to start beating that drum myself. That is the answer for these socialists.
If you don't believe it, have you seen the documentaries? I saw one a long time ago. People that win the lottery, where they are a few years later.
I've heard rumors, not good.
They're broke.
Yeah. Yep. Those who were rich would soon be rich again, and those who were poor would
be
soon
poor
be
again.
poor again.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I think that was what Martin Luther King was talking about, the content of their character. Okay, and the Bible has a lot to say about managing money and stewardship and tithing and things like that that are not there, right? That are not there to deprive us of the benefit of our work. They're there to show us how to become even more wealthy. In fact, remember the parable of the talents?
Mm-hmm.
The guy that invested and did well. Well, remember the guy that didn't do so well? Jesus took what he had, gave it to the rich guy. That doesn't sound like socialism to me.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? You're right.
That's what he said. That's just what he said.
One thing I would like for us to do, Coach, with these new Bill Bites News, you're my new partner, and the Bible has a tremendous amount of wisdom in about everything that we are talking about. Let's not be shy about throwing scripture out there for Americans to hear and to consider. So I'm going to be looking to add scripture to some of these headline news items.
We're going to turn on the biblical radar.
The biblical radar, absolutely. We will do that. As the scriptures speak in ways that you and I cannot. When we go toe-to-toe with one of the flaming liberals, it's basically our opinion versus their opinion. But when you add scripture to the mix, it elevates it to a whole new level.
Well, that assumes that you believe in the authority and the sovereignty of God. By the way, let me do a commercial. Let me do a shout out for you, Bill.
Okay.
There's a lot that could be, a lot of criticism gets levied as you kind of become more, up the scale, on a more visible, more celebrity status. But folks, you may not know what Bill does on Saturday. Bill can be found on the beach, proclaiming the gospel. Now, how many? You can criticize, and all you want to. That's the easiest thing in the world to do. But I ask myself this question, and I also challenge others. And there's two questions. You don't have to answer them to me. What is the boldest thing you've ever done for Christ? And give that some thought. And then, how long ago was that? And here's my challenge. Never be satisfied with either answer. And if you subject yourself to that challenge, I think we all come up short.
Yeah.
But good job, brother. Good job.
Right.
Proclaim it on the public square. And because a right not exercised is easy to take away.
Yeah, if you don't exercise, it'll fade away by itself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But not only are we proclaiming the gospel in the public square, here in Daytona, we have a couple of biker bars that actually invite the biker ministries to come and preach the gospel on Sunday mornings, once a month.
Mm-hmm.
I have actually stood in the doorway of the Boot Hill Saloon and given a come to Jesus gospel message.
There you go.
They're so happy to have us show up. Believe it or not, they cook us breakfast every time we come by.
When I had my motorcycle, every spring break, I would partner with Rima Ridge Baptist Church right down the road from you.
Yep,
and that's on Highway 44. And by golly, if you're going to get to Daytona, there's only about 3 roads to get there on, and Highway 44 is one of them. And they really reached out to the motorcycle community during spring break, motorcycle week.
All year round.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'd recently joined the Faith Riders of Daytona, which is at First Baptist Church here, and I
rode with them the first year they were back when they were in the church at the mall in
Lakeland.
Not Lakeland, Clearwater.
Lakeland.
Okay, but interesting group. Had a great spring break. We stopped somewhere new every day, thundering. Hundreds of us. It was fun. It was great.
Well, we don't have hundreds of us now, but we're trying to build it back up. So if you're in Florida, take a look at Faith Riders. If you want to make a difference with your Christian faith, well,
let's save it. Let's talk motorcycles next time. I've got a lot to say, and we've only got a few minutes left.
Tick tock, tick tock.
Okay.
Well, folks, this is something that Coach and I want to do regularly. We want to spend an hour with you every Saturday evening. We want to go live so that you guys can have some input as we're doing this. Send us some ideas. If there are issues that need to be addressed, shout out, and we will put them up on the net. We'll take them.
By the way, this is being streamed live on YouTube. However, if you go to patriotjournalist.com, we have a venue there. This is piped in directly to that, and you will find yourself in a chat room. You don't have to join the chat if you don't want to, but you'll find yourself among friends. And that venue is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we play the outtakes from these live sessions there. So you can certainly catch it there, but it is a place that it's kind of a safe harbor. The environment there is one where you come there, you will be welcomed, you will be accepted. This is not a place, by the way, that we complain and moan and groan. It's a place where we encourage and strengthen and build up one another. Yes, we share our burdens. We pray for one another there. If you've got a prayer need in your life, if you'll make that known to me, we will stop what we're doing and we will pray for you right then and there live on the air. So we encourage you to become part of the PJNET family because it's a new year, and with all the things going on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Facebook, we're going to have to stake out a beachhead of our own. And that's what we're doing here. And Wild Bill is a big part of it, but he's only a part of it. We've also got some other great Christian brothers and sisters who join us, and they're our weekly guests. So I think you'll be encouraged. I think you'll be uplifted. But Bill, this is our first week together on the air, and I just can't tell you how humbled I am, but also how proud we are to have you a part of the PJNet family.
Well, thank you. My mission in life is calling this country back to the God and country principles upon which the USA was founded. And the PJNet is going to be a valuable venue to get that message out there. So for all of you who love the USA, you believe in what we're doing, click those subscribe buttons, on Coach Prasic's YouTube site, on my YouTube site. Let's all join forces, and together we will have fun scaring the living daylights out of the flaming liberals of America.
You got it, Bill.
And a few of them over in Europe, too.
There you go.
I got a few of them targeted. Oh, and let's not forget the girly man up in Canada. We're going to slap him around a little bit also, because they are our closest neighbors to the north, and they need help up there. They can't say things up there that we can say here, and we're going to stand with our Canadian brothers and sisters.
Yeah, I've gotten a thrill. I've kind of hooked up with Jordan Peterson, and buddy, he's a powerful force up in Canada and now around the world. But you know what? You know how he got started? On YouTube. Yeah. On YouTube. And
I'll get Kel Fritzia on here. She's got a radio station up there, and she and I have been working a deal. I told her that we would trade California straight across for British Columbia. we're working on that.
The Democratic National Committee would never allow that to happen and lose 55 electoral votes. Ain't gonna happen.
Oh, you said we weren't going to complain. You're throwing ice water on my big plan here. British Columbia would have to have a new name. I'm thinking Wild Billumbia has a. With Chris Ann Hall as the first Attorney General.
All right. Well, Bill, we're within 5 minutes of exiting here. If we've covered everything, we'll do this again next Saturday night live, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and we'll have more Bill's Bites, the news you probably would not know. He spends a lot of time rounding up these articles. So, Bill, thanks for joining with us tonight, and we'll certainly see you next week.
Thank you for putting this together, Coach. We will do some good work together.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I already switched. I'm sorry. Let me just repeat that. Thank you for. I know this by heart. You've got to subscribe to Wild Bill's YouTube channel. But he always has. Thank you for watching. In America, bless God. Again and again, thank you for joining us here at PJNET Live, and we're going to sign it off. And we'll see you next Saturday. I'm just kind of whining.